Today I wish to remind myself and you of something very important. Sometimes we look at the world and we fail to appreciate the strength and resilience Allah has placed within certain nations, certain communities. One such example, my brothers and sisters, is the beautiful land of Iran. Many people speak about power in terms of wealth and weapons, but true strength, as we know, comes from steadfastness upon faith, unity of the people, and the courage to stand firm in the face of trials. So, let us today reflect upon why Iran remains, by the will of Allah, one of the strongest Islamic nations in the world, not just in might, but in the unwavering spirit of its people, its deep roots in Islamic scholarship, and its unshakable resolve to defend its values no matter the odds. May Allah grant strength to the believers. When we examine why Iran stands as one of the strongest Islamic countries in the world, we must first understand that true strength does not begin with tanks, oil, or political slogans. It begins with vision. Vision is the ability to see beyond the obstacles of today and to live for an idea that is greater than oneself. Iran, for decades, has maintained a clear national vision that is rooted firmly in its faith and cultural identity. Nations that lose their identity lose their power, but a people who know who they are and why they exist can endure storms that would destroy others. The power of Iran comes first from its deeply rooted sense of purpose. In a world where many nations drift from trend to trend, changing their core values based on what others want, Iran has remained anchored to a vision that is bigger than politics or economics alone. That vision is built on a conviction that faith must guide governance, that culture must shape policy, and that no matter the cost, the identity of the people cannot be sold or traded for temporary comfort. This is why, even under decades of sanctions, threats, and isolation, Iran did not collapse. This is why its people have endured hardships that would break many nations apart. It is not just the leadership, it is the people's collective agreement that their destiny is connected to their faith. When a nation aligns its policies, its education, its media, and its daily life with a single vision, it becomes almost impossible to defeat from the outside. Every family in Iran is somehow connected to this national vision. They teach it to their children. They protect it in their traditions. They express it through their arts. And they defend it in their mosques and universities. While others may mock or misunderstand, those who carry a vision understand that they do not need the approval of those who do not share it. Vision makes a people unstoppable because it gives meaning to sacrifice. Look at the youth of Iran. They may face unemployment, restrictions, or uncertainty, but they are constantly reminded that they are part of a bigger story. That story gives them resilience. That story tells them that every difficulty is a test to strengthen them, not to break them. This is why, despite many internal challenges, the nation stands united when its identity is threatened. Vision also demands that a nation must be self-sustaining. Iran's vision is not just spiritual or cultural, it is practical. It pushes its scientists to innovate, its engineers to find solutions, its industries to survive without dependence. When resources are cut off, vision turns scarcity into creativity. That is true strength. Without vision, people waste resources. They complain, they blame, but with vision, even a little becomes much, because it is used with purpose. Iran has invested heavily in research, medicine, technology, and defense, not just to compete, but to live out its vision of independence. True strength is not about being perfect. It is about having the clarity to know where you are going, why you exist, and what you refuse to compromise on. Iran's strength lies not in one leader or one policy. It lies in a generational commitment to a vision that transcends time. A nation that knows why it was born will outlast any sanction, any threat, any setback. This is why, when we look at Iran, we see more than headlines or politics. We see what happens when a nation chooses vision over convenience, purpose over popularity, and identity over imitation. One of the most remarkable things that sets Iran apart as a strong Islamic nation is its relentless commitment to self-reliance and resilience, especially under immense pressure. Many nations crumble when they are cornered by external powers or suffocated by sanctions. But Iran has learned to transform external pressure into internal strength. When the doors to the world's markets were closed, they turned inward, not to complain, but to create. They discovered how to make their own fuel, develop their own technology, grow their own industries. This mindset of, we will depend on no one but Allah and our own hands, has become part of the Iranian identity. It is taught in universities, echoed in mosques, and repeated in the daily conversations of ordinary citizens. Adversity for Iran has not been an excuse for surrender. It has been the fuel for invention and progress. When you observe Iranian industries, you will find people innovating under limitations that would paralyze many developed nations. They build cars, develop advanced medical treatments, produce military hardware, and even push the frontiers of nuclear science, not because it's easy, but because they believe that true power lies in not begging for permission to stand tall. Resilience does not mean the absence of suffering. It means refusing to be defined by that suffering. Iran has faced wars, coups, sanctions, cyber attacks, and diplomatic isolation. Yet again and again, it rises from each setback with a new strategy, a new breakthrough, and a renewed sense of mission. This resilience is not just physical or economic. It is mental and spiritual. A farmer in a remote Iranian village feels he is part of defending the nation's independence when he produces local crops instead of relying on imports. A scientist feels her research is an act of resistance when she works with limited resources but world-class ambition. This commitment to self-reliance breeds a unique confidence in the people. It says, "We do not need to imitate others to have dignity. Many countries have oil. Many have resources. But when those run out or are blocked, what remains is the will of the people." Iran's people have learned that their greatest resource is their ability to endure and innovate. Regardless of what the world thinks, resilience and self-reliance are not just about the economy either. They shape the Iranian character. This is why, even in times of unrest or division, there is a deep-rooted understanding that their independence must never be sacrificed. They can disagree on politics, but when the nation is threatened, they come together. This is the fruit of decades of cultivating a mindset that true strength comes, not from what is given to you, but from what you create with your own sacrifice. Another reason why Iran remains one of the strongest Islamic nations in the world is its unwavering commitment to education and scholarship, especially when it comes to preserving and advancing Islamic thought. Throughout history, empires and kingdoms have risen and fallen, but what has always kept a people alive is the knowledge they carry and the values they protect through learning. In Iran, the culture of scholarship is not just about getting degrees for jobs. It is about safeguarding an intellectual tradition that connects generations to their faith and identity. From the ancient days of great Persian scholars like Avicenna and al-Biruni to the present day, Iran has nurtured centers of learning that have produced some of the most influential thinkers in the Islamic world. Universities, seminaries, and research centers continue to thrive even in the face of sanctions and restrictions. These institutions do not just teach science and technology, they teach philosophy, theology, and the principles that help a society remain grounded in its beliefs while navigating the modern world. This deep respect for education starts early in Iranian families. Parents encourage their children to read, to question, to debate ideas. Young minds are taught not just to memorize, but to understand. This spirit keeps the intellectual flame alive. When people can think for themselves, they become harder to manipulate, harder to break, harder to silence. This is part of Iran's hidden strength. An educated population that knows its history, understands its faith, and is willing to defend both. In the Islamic tradition, knowledge is light. While many Muslim-majority countries have struggled to keep their religious institutions relevant in modern times, Iran's seminaries, particularly in Qom, continue to shape scholars who not only interpret the Quran and Hadith, but also address modern challenges with wisdom rooted in tradition. This has created a generation of clerics, professors, and thinkers who guide the nation through complex issues without losing sight of its core principles. Moreover, the Iranian culture of scholarship does not shy away from science and technology. Instead, it sees them as part of fulfilling the duty to strengthen the Muslim community. Iran's advancements in medicine, engineering, and nuclear research are not accidents. They are the result of decades of prioritizing education as a national duty. While other nations spend billions importing expertise, Iran has invested in building its own experts. This culture of knowledge also serves as a shield against cultural invasion. When people know who they are and understand why they believe what they believe, they do not easily surrender their minds to foreign ideas that weaken their unity. Iran's scholars play a critical role in preserving Islamic values while engaging with the modern world, producing books, lectures, and debates that help young people stand firm in their identity. In the end, a nation's true power is not just in its armies or its wealth, but in the ideas that live in the minds of its people. Iran's strength is built every day in classrooms, libraries, and seminaries, where faith and knowledge walk hand in hand, shaping hearts and minds for generations to come. Another undeniable reason behind Iran's status as one of the strongest Islamic countries in the world is its remarkable ability to forge unity in the face of external threats. While no nation is free from internal disagreements, true strength is revealed when people stand together when it matters most. Iran has shown the world that when a country is repeatedly tested by sanctions, invasions, and diplomatic isolation, it can either fracture into pieces or become like steel forged in fire, stronger, sharper, and more determined than ever before. Throughout modern history, Iran has faced countless challenges designed to weaken its sovereignty and disrupt its stability. Yet, each time, instead of folding under pressure, the people have often responded with a renewed sense of solidarity. This resilience does not mean everyone agrees on everything. Far from it. Like any vibrant society, Iran has its debates, protests, and differences of opinion. But when an external threat looms, political rivalries fade into the background, and even ordinary citizens see themselves as guardians of a common cause. This is not accidental. It is a direct result of a national narrative that reminds Iranians that their survival depends on staying united. In mosques, schools, and homes, people are reminded of the sacrifices made by previous generations to defend the land and faith. Stories of resistance and martyrdom are not just history lessons. They are living fuel that binds the old and young together with a shared sense of duty. This unity is also visible in how the country mobilizes its people in times of crisis. During war or sanctions, farmers, scientists, artists, and clerics alike understand their roles as contributors to a larger mission. Even cultural expressions, poems, films, unlike nations that crumble when their comforts are threatened, Iran's strength lies in the people's willingness to accept sacrifice for the sake of protecting their values and independence. Another unique aspect of this unity is that it is not just defensive, but also proactive. Iran does not wait for threats to dictate its actions. Instead, it builds alliances, invests in regional networks, and extends its influence to ensure that it is never isolated. This strategic sense of solidarity has given Iran friends and partners beyond its borders, further strengthening its hand when facing pressure from powerful adversaries. Where there is unity, there is strength. This timeless truth is alive in Iran's story. It is not about pretending that everyone thinks the same way. It is about knowing when to stand as one family, when your home, faith, and future are at stake. This lesson is one of the greatest reasons why Iran continues to hold its ground as one of the most resilient Islamic nations in the world. A crucial reason behind Iran's standing as one of the strongest Islamic countries in the world is its carefully built network of strategic influence and alliances across the region. Power is never just about what happens within your borders. It's also about how far your reach extends and how effectively you can shape events beyond your own land. Iran has mastered this lesson through decades of patient, calculated diplomacy and regional engagement. While some nations depend solely on foreign powers to protect their interests, Iran has focused on building connections with groups, communities, and governments that share its vision or benefit from its support. From Lebanon to Iraq, from Syria to Yemen, Iran's presence can be felt not just through formal ties, but through partnerships that operate on shared ideology, security cooperation, and economic ties. This web of influence has made Iran a central player in the Middle East, a reality that even its strongest opponents cannot ignore. By maintaining these alliances, Iran has ensured that any attempt to isolate it politically or economically becomes far more complicated. Its friends and partners become extensions of its strength, giving it a say in regional matters that affect millions of lives. This strategic influence is not accidental. It is the fruit of consistent investment in relationships. Iran provides training, aid, and support to groups that align with its interests, building trust that lasts beyond changing governments and shifting headlines. While this strategy attracts criticism and opposition, it has also made Iran a nation that others must reckon with before making any major move in the region. This influence is not purely military either. Iran uses cultural, religious, and humanitarian channels to maintain its ties. Scholars, clerics, and cultural envoys spread its message, connect communities, and remind the world of a shared heritage that transcends borders. In this way, Iran's influence is woven into the social and spiritual fabric of many places, making it harder for adversaries to cut it off or erase it overnight. By turning neighbors into partners and conflicts into opportunities to extend its reach, Iran has shown how strategic alliances can amplify a country's strength far beyond what its size or economy alone might suggest. It is not just about controlling land or resources. It is about shaping narratives, protecting allies, and ensuring that no one can make decisions about the region's future without including Iran at the table. This ability to extend its power outward has turned Iran from a country under siege to a country whose influence shapes the balance of power in the entire Middle East. And that is a rare strength. Few can match. One final powerful reason behind Iran's enduring strength as one of the strongest Islamic countries in the world is its deep spiritual heritage that continues to inspire courage and sacrifice among its people. In many nations, faith has been reduced to rituals or confined to private spaces, but in Iran, spirituality is an active living force that shapes how people see hardship, struggle, and destiny. Generations have grown up listening to stories of sacrifice rooted in Islamic history. The courage of Imam Hussein at Karbala, the perseverance of early believers in the face of persecution, and the countless martyrs who gave their lives defending their beliefs. These stories are not distant legends. They are woven into the daily lives of families, schools, sermons, and national events. They remind people that true victory is not always measured by wealth or comfort, but by standing firm in what you believe, no matter the price. This spiritual backbone gives ordinary people extraordinary endurance. It explains why parents willingly send their children to defend the nation's borders, why young students accept hardship without losing hope, and why, even in economic struggle, people still find meaning and dignity in sacrifice. Spiritual conviction turns struggle into purpose, and purpose into resilience. Iran's spiritual heritage also creates a strong sense of community. Mosques are not just places of worship. They are centers for gathering, learning, and mutual support. Religious events and rituals become moments when millions come together, feel their shared identity, and renew their commitment to one another. This collective spirit is one of the greatest sources of national strength. It is far harder to divide a people who feel spiritually bonded. Furthermore, Iran's leaders and scholars continuously remind the nation that their spiritual duty is not just to defend their own land, but to be a voice for the oppressed everywhere. This universal dimension turns local sacrifice into a mission that transcends borders, giving people a reason to endure suffering with hope rather than despair. Where there is strong faith, fear loses its grip. Iran's people have faced threats, invasions, and sanctions for decades. Yet, they do not see themselves as victims. They see themselves as part of a divine story that demands patience and sacrifice. This mindset has created generation after generation of people who believe that their endurance has value beyond this world. That belief, more than any weapon or wealth, is what makes Iran so hard to break.